Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess Wise. Today we are looking at the next lesson, that is the Greco's Gambit. So I am now going to try to use the openings as a way to do game study also, and we understand the concept of attack also. So we will do little bit of opening preparation and we will study the games. Okay, let's go to the game and see what is Greco's Gambit. E4, E5, Nf3, Nc6, Bishop C4, Bishop C5. The starting position of Geico piano. Geico piano simply means a slow game in Spanish. But the line which we are seeing, it's very sharp and tactical things happen in the game. So this is a very old analysis by Greco. Somewhere he did in the I think 16th century. So white starts with the move C3 here. Okay, we have discussed the normal move Nc3. Okay, white wants to play d4 and control the center. So he will have strong pawns in the center. So black can do many things here. Most naturally is knight f6, immediately challenging white and attacking the e4 pawn. White plays d4, not worrying about the pawn on e4. So now if we look at the center, we see that there are enough supports to d4. 1, 2 and 3 supports and 1, 2 and 3 attacks. Okay, now the best response is to take the pawn, otherwise the bishop is attacked, bishop will have to waste the move and this e5 pawn will be taken. And the move bd6 will be very bad because it will block the d pawn and the bishop will get stuck. So best is to exchange followed by gain of tempo. So now see, we don't retreat. I told you we don't retreat. So what we do, we exchange. But right now the bishop cannot exchange and black doesn't want to waste any move. In some other lesson, I will be covering the move bishop b6 when white center pawns become very strong and then they drive the white black knights. Okay, and the position becomes winning for white. So black should not waste any move here. Black plays the move bb4 check. So this move is very important. He is avoiding the loss of tempo. Now white plays the move Nc3, which is the starting position of the Greco's Gambit. If he plays bd2, then after bishop into d2, knight d2, this e4 pawn gets supported. So Nc3, black takes the pawn on e4, and now very interesting things happen. White sacrifices some more material and then builds up the attack. So white goes castle and sacrifices the second pawn. Black now has two ways to continue here. The best move is bishop into c3. After bishop into c3, if white takes bc3, then black has a very strong move d5, and after d5 black's position becomes better. The knight on e4 will be well placed, bishop will be attacked and black will run away by castling. See, the pawn is given up here for better development, okay, and white wants to keep the black king in the center. So the right move here is d5. We'll be discussing this in some other lesson. Okay, that is another very interesting game. Okay, let's go to the main game. In today's game, black played the move knight c3. We are trying to see what happens if pawns are grabbed early in the opening. What can we do with the help of our extra development? So after bc3, okay, bishop takes c3. So what has happened here is white has sacrificed two pawns. Okay, and what he has got, let's try to measure. See, the rook has developed and the king has become safe. Knight is already developed, bishop is developed, the center pawn can advance to d5. So right now if we see, we have got 1, 2 and 3 developments. Move is white's, so white can use some move like queen e2 check or queen b3 using attack on f7 and attack on c3. See, here white is not concerned about this rook in the corner. Another reason why white has given up the pawn, he wanted the black pieces to move again and again. Note this bishop and this knight, they have moved several times in order to capture the pawn. So in this case, the gambit is given to keep the black king in the center and continue the attack. So white has many moves here, out of which bishop a3 is strongest. Okay, I told you queen b3 was there. Okay, there was also So bishop f7 check, king f7, queen b3 check, and then taking the bishop. But what happens there is, after bf7, kf7, queen b3 check, black has the move d5. And now when you take queen c3, the rook comes to either f8 or e8, and the king hides to g8 next move. So it's like doing artificial castle. Normally he was not able to castle, but the king went artificially inside, and the position looks like castle. That is called artificial castle. And we see that for one pawn less, white is not having much. He has some compensation, but it's not enough. So that is why the move bishop f7 check was not correct. Let's go back to the game. White plays bishop a3. After the move bishop a3, first problem is black king is unable to castle. Okay. Secondly, what we have done here is we have connected this rook and queen. Okay. So that rook is about to get developed. So the last white piece will be developed. And if you look at black, still he has 1, 2, 3, 4, which are yet to be developed, and white is almost completing his development here. So we see the development, difference in development is too much. And as I told you, whenever there is difference of 2 or more developments, we should look for some tactics. Okay, now first problem for black, let's look at some lines. Firstly, he can play the move d6, trying to prepare for castle, blocking the bishop, and black is ready to castle. But now white has a good move, rook c1, forcing the c3 bishop to go to a5. It has only one good place. Bishop on b4 would be lost. See, when the development is less, these kind of tactics is very natural. Bishop into b4, knight into b4, and queen e1 check. See, doing a double attack. Queen attacks the king and queen attacks the knight. And the knight would be lost and white will be in a winning position. So the bishop has to go to a5. Okay, after bishop a5, it looks as if after d5, knight goes to e7, queen a4 check wins the bishop, but there is a problem. After d5, knight e7, queen a4, black has c6 when queen supports the bishop. That can give some compensation, but white has a very strong move, queen a4 now. He is creating two threats. If black castles and removes this pin on the knight, then white just plays d5, forces the knight to move, and the bishop will be taken. And suppose black just saves the bishop, let's have bb6, then white plays d5 and the pinned knight is lost. Although black seems to escape here, but after dc, bc, most people would go for the move qc6, which is very good here, but white has a very strong move bd3 when the queen will be transferred to the king side. Look at these bishops. This will attack from d3, this will attack from b2. When bishops come to d3 and b2, they form a very nice attacking pattern on the king side. I will be talking about these bishops later on. There is a name for that. We will be discussing about that in some other lesson. Let's go back to the game. Now if black plays d5 here, which is very similar to the game, white can do bb5, and then after the move bishop a1, rook comes to e1 check. Now all pieces are attacking the king. Bishop e6 almost forced, nothing else was there. King d7 was even worse, knight e5 check. And now also there is knight e5, very strong move. Look at the c6 knight, it cannot be protected by the queen. Queen can't come to d7, queen can't come to d6. And next move after knight into c6, white will have a winning position. Bishop is almost like pinned over here. If bishop moves, then knight into c6 would be a discovered check and the queen would be taken. So this position will become winning for white. Okay, let's go back to the game now. Bishop into rook in the main game, and now again we see the king is now caught in the center. So white goes re1 check, forcing black to play knight e7, and now it looks like both moves are almost same. Bishop takes e7, queen is trapped, queen will take the bishop. But there what happens, after bishop e7, black will know that he will have to give up the queen. So white plays re7 check and sets a small trap. Trap is that if the king comes to f8, then he gets mated quickly. Rook f7 double check. See, rook is giving check and the bishop on a3 gives check. If king moves to g8, then rook f8 is again see double check, checkmate. Rook gives check, bishop gives check. The a3 bishop supports the f8 rook. that will checkmate. And if the king comes to e8, then queen e1 or queen e2, whichever check, queen comes to e7 and queen e7 will be checkmate. So game over. So what has to be done here is, after re7, black is actually compelled to take queen e7, bishop takes e7 and king takes e7. Now the combination is almost over, but the black king is not safe. And again there are some series of moves with which white can win the game. Let's see. Now the attackers are the knight, bishop and queen. And if we take stock of material, it looks like black has enough material. See, bishop for bishop, knight for bishop over here, and 2 rooks for queen. But the black bishop is already hanging. So white can simply take the bishop and play the game, but then black has rook e8 and king will become safe. So white plays qe1 check. Note, this is an important move. It keeps the bishop on hold. It is keeping it attacked and also giving check. Let's look at some lines. Now there are 4 variations. After kd6, queen e5 check, kc6, qc5 checkmate. Very similar after the move king f6 also. Queen comes to e5 check, kg6, qg5 checkmate. Let's look at other lines. Now black has 2 other moves, king to d8 and king to f8. After the move kd8, white has 2 ways to attack the king. White can go knight g5 or knight e5. Both are very strong. Knight goes to g5, simply threatening knight f7 checkmate. Okay, and if now the pawn moves to d6, then knight f7 check and the rook is attacked. So it will be a knight fork. And even we can try to attack the king which is coming out on d7 after qe6 check and all. So black plays rook f8, knight f7 check, rook takes f7 forced, bishop takes f7. Again there is mating threat on e8. So black has to play the move c6, which will make place on c7. That's the only move. And here either white can take the bishop with his queen, then it will be rook for queen position, or there is a very strong move d5. So what will happen after d5? But black is compelled to take cd, because if he tries to save the bishop, then d6 and the king will come in a mating net. King will have no place to move. So after c into d5, we can just take the bishop. Okay, and now what we see, this queen is going to penetrate, grab the pawns, and we can win the game very easily. So that is about kf8. Let's look at the last move, king to d8. Black plays king f8 here. After king f8, white can simply take the bishop. He can also consider knight e5, okay, and take f7, but this is just simple. After he takes the bishop, black can try to play d6, after which white can either do knight g5 or improve the queen from c1 and try to enter g5, and the position is winning for white. We see the material count, bishop for bishop, queen and knight for 2 rooks, okay, but the rooks are not well placed. So by the time the rooks develop and black tries to coordinate his pieces, white will already get a very strong attack either on f7 or g7 squares. f7 is the weakness here, okay, and white will win the game. So this was all about Greco's Gambit, analysis of Greco's Gambit. In future I will be showing you how to play the black pieces against this gambit. Right now I am covering the white openings, so that then we will know how to play with black. That time we will know all white's options. Okay, I hope you are enjoying these lessons. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.